And a good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching the program, and welcome to a Colonial Downs Racing preview for Saturday, August the 10th, day 3, wrapping up the first weekend out of only 5, Merv. So we're almost 20% of the way done. Yeah. Opening night in the books. We had 10 races, 2 dirt, 8 turf. We were talking before. Did we pick up any biases? Did we pick up anything like that? And I felt no. It seemed like everything was pretty fair.
No, I agree with you. It seems like the best horses won because we saw Emboldened wire the field in that turf sprint, and we also saw Beale Street come from way out of it to win. So I think it was a clear lack of bias, if anything.
I was talking to a friend at Monmouth who saw Embolden's debut, and he told me, he said that he knew that horse could run, and sure enough, when they turned into the stretch, there was another horse there that I thought was going to make a run at him, and gonzo.
He was my single on my pick 5 ticket. Had I made it out of the first leg,
well,
could have been rolling.
The last leg was the one that was the head scratcher. Was Tito Tonight, who won it 24-1. Really improbable result from studying the past performances, but clearly some folks had it because I saw the pick 5 paid $10,000 for 50 cents. Yeah, so we knew it was going to pay big. I'm almost inclined to go do the math on. I think there was 46,000 in the pool, 48,000 in the pool, and so even if you're at a low 15% takeout for the pick 5, you're still talking about an extra like $1,500 that people were playing for, and if there was 5 winning tickets or 4 winning tickets, literally an extra $300 for everybody, and that's if you're playing against a 15. So a good illustration of takeout there. But really appreciate everyone who tuned into opening night. Really appreciate everybody who we got a lot of social chatter, people that were playing the races and all that kind of stuff. So I got some really good feedback from folks who watched the first 2 of these videos. We do have a fancy new set background. Excellent. Me and Merv are an extra 1.5 inches apart. I'm going to try to look more in the camera. It's hard when we got all your past performances here. I think we saw way too much of my soon-to-be balding, or kind of currently balding head.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try.
No glare today, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know because it's daytime now. But really appreciate everybody tuning in. Again, you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Beemy Awards. He's at Merv Huber, and love to talk Colonial with you guys. Other impressions, quick from opening night. Trevor McCarthy with 3 wins. I thought he made an incredible ride on Mock Tree coming up the inside. I hadn't seen a horse fly up the rail like that in quite a while. It was a really, really impressive move. Go check out that replay if you didn't get a chance. Paco with a couple of winners. Michael Sanchez a couple winners. Went down, but got back up and rode. Yeah, it seemed like a really, really incidental contact down the backstretch, and he came unseated. I thought Embolden was the biggest performance of the night, just in terms of wow factor. It was a maiden race, so maybe there wasn't anything behind it, but he sure looked really, really good coming down stretch. And I know Mike Stidham had been pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I hope we see him back in the Rosie Stakes too, because he sure looked impressive. And after the race, wasn't even breathing heavy. I saw him right in front of the winner's circle. Looked great.
Well, we'll see stakes action on today's card, so we'll talk about that in a second. Winners, I thought it was interesting. 3 winners from Laurel, which I think makes sense. I think that's going to be a good chunk of our racing is going to be coming from Maryland. 2 Churchill horses coming out of Churchill races, a Monmouth, a Parks, a Gulfstream Park, and as I mentioned, the pick 5 paying over $10,000 for 50 cents. Good payouts pretty much throughout the night. We kicked off with a 13-1 shot, Charming Charlie Ray. The first race, the pace was so slow to unfold, and I was just like, wow, they're not going very fast. And so it was just interesting to watch. And Monmouth is a little bit more of a glib track, so I think maybe I just had that impression in my mind, and a lot of times when they'd come by me, it was out of that chute, and so it just looked like it was slow to unfold. And sure enough, the horse that was pretty much on or near the lead, Charlie Rain, he actually battled back to win. But things picked up a little bit from the speed standpoint. The dirt track, we saw both races horses came from a little bit off the pace, but to me it just seemed like the best horses were winning those 2.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, let's get going on this 11 race card. Now, we should say the races 1 and 3 are going to be the steeplechase races. Those will be on the outer turf course. I think the entire rest of the card is on the inner turf course because they can't take the jumps down like right away. So do be aware of that. I will profess very much a neophyte about steeplechase.
Me as well.
And so we're kind of going to approach this as I think some of our viewers will, and some obviously probably know stuff about it. My only hesitation in doing that was kind of just looking for consistency, looking for who's been running the best, which is kind of basic handicapping 101. But by doing that, it was leading me to the favorites.
Same here, right? And really, it's a maiden race to start the card, so that makes it even more complicated because you're not going to see any winners over the jumps here. I kind of landed on Silver Crescent, the 1 in here. This will be his second start off the layoff, and he ran well last time to be third at Monmouth. I didn't know, was this a race that you called?
This was not. I was gone. I did watch this race, the replay though, and he was kind of just prominent throughout, and the winner started to edge away late, and those top two kind of got away from everybody else. But
and I like Hepcat too. So Hepcat, the 2 in here, was the horse that finished ahead of him in second there. So those are my top 2 picks. I swapped the order thinking Silver Crescent could benefit. This is the second start off the layoff, and that Hepcat might take a little bit more money, so that Silver Crescent may offer a bit more value of the 2 if you liked that last race.
My thought process was that, I was finding myself being led to those same horses, the 1 and the 2, who I think are probably going to be 2 of the favorites. So I decided to maybe just go towards horses who haven't been jumping and are going to be prices, because I just don't know. And so to me, if I don't know, I want to go with as big of a price as possible, because the one time I'm right, it's going to take care of a few other things. So that being said, I thought it was really interesting, the 7 horse, All Out of Aces, who has 2 jump races on its program and was terrible in both, but got back on a dirt track last time going a mile and ran 2 really big races, including the last time a second place finish for $20,000. I just thought it was a really good effort, and I thought maybe just if for some reason this horse does show some more speed, maybe that'll make a difference. It could just be doesn't want the distance, doesn't want the hurdles, but again, I was kind of just trying to go a little bit outside the box. I thought the 4 Bernay, interesting that this horse was this was a Chad Brown come over from Europe horse, was with Jason Service. Now we haven't seen the horse in over a year, and comes back here as a steeplechase runner for Catherine Nielsen, who's having a pretty decent year at 16%. So I thought that was maybe another alternative.
Yeah, first start in a year for that one. Yeah. I kind of had the same thought process. So my third horse was the 9. You might have to help me with the name there, but
I went and watched. Travis had called this horse, and it was just Goddess Be Here. Or Gostas Be Here,
Gostas Be Here.
Yeah.
It ran incredibly over the jumps, but if you look back, had some really nice flat races, good speed figures, kind of a good horse. Last time he ran on the flats actually was a 1.5 mile race, and he won first level allowance. So we'll see what kind of money he takes in here.
Yeah, that race, Got Us to Be Here, is coming out of a 4th place finish. Snap Dancer was just right to the front and kind of just held everybody at bay, and those top two really started separating themselves, and so they were pretty good that day, and maybe it's a decent race. Merv, your picks for race 1?
I went 1, 2, 9 in the first.
Second race is our first thoroughbred race. Again, we'll go back to the jumps for race number 3, but race 2, 1 mile and a 16th, $10,000 non-winners of 2. Trainer Alan Bedard had a winner on opening night. He's got one in here that I thought was maybe a little bit interesting, but how'd you kind of see this race?
Well, the first thing I noticed is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of speed in here. Really struggled to find the speed. The horse I landed on was the 3 Jingle Bells. He doesn't really show a lot of speed in his races, but most of his races on here are sprint races, right? Last time was the first time in a while that he stretched out to a distance of ground, 1 mile and a 16th, and I thought he ran okay. He wasn't out of touch. He was within 3 or 4 lengths of the leaders throughout there, and finished just 4 lengths back. I was right at this level, but at Tampa, so it was a good field. So I thought even with that type of the pace that he showed in that race, might put him on the lead in here. I know the outside horse might show a little speed, the one coming from Charlestown, but I kind of landed on the 3 thinking this is a paceless race, and he may benefit from that.
So let's talk about the morning line favorite, Haiku, who's 5-2 on the line. Trainer Neil Morris, very good with layoff type runners. This horse only has 1 start over the turf, or 2 starts over the turf, I'm sorry, but one of them was a win and one of them was a distance. So very much, but it was a debut, the distance. Right. And so to me, you can make a case that you need to toss that one. They tried to go on the turf again at Churchill, it didn't work. Last time for $15,000 too, a little bit of a class drop. Mike Maker had been training the horse. Ran pretty good because it was really, really wide that day, but was favored. To me, it seems like a more realistic spot, but I kind of worry if maybe this is one that's going to burn money. Another one who figures to be pretty far off the pace. It reminds me of the first race we saw on Thursday where there wasn't a whole lot of pace, and the horses who were kind of close up are the ones that ended up running first, second, and third.
Yeah, I thought Haiku would burn some money as well. This is his first start since January, too. Yeah. So I put him in as my second pick in here, but I did try to beat him with Jingle Bells, thinking Haiku might be take more money than the 5-2 morning line might indicate. I liked Deerstalker in here as well. He's taking a big drop in class. You look back, he's $25,000 claiming level at Parks. The concern here, this is his first start on turf, and his pedigree doesn't really give us any clues as to
Not a big
how he's
Harry
gonna,
the Hat fan?
or the power by far is the damn side.
Yeah.
Not many clues, but he does get Michael Sanchez in the irons, and he had a pretty good opening night.
And Alan Bedard, I mentioned, had a win on opening night as well. So, Merv, your picks for race 2?
Picks for race 2 are 3 Jingle Bells, 7 Haiku, and 2 Deerstalker.
Third race, we go back to the jumps, and it was interesting. So you made Pick'em the favorite coming off a no finish, but it was a lost rider last fence, and was somewhat in contention kind of finish. And then, of course, the other part of the entry, I think our only entry, right?
Only entry on the card,
is Other Cheek. So where did you see on this third race?
Yeah, and I thought Pick'em was the stronger half of this entry. Just you're going to have to draw a line through the last one because he lost the rider. But he'd been running credibly before that, right? 2 second-place finishes preceded that effort and a couple wins before that. And he retains the same rider. I like seeing all these riders coming in from, kind of all over the place to retain their mounts on these horses. I also looked to the outside, the 12 First Friday. He was second last time out. Barry Foley's been in the irons on him for a while. I just kind of thought that he figured in here. He's beaten several of his competitors already in his last few races. The only horse that he's finished behind, really, in the last few is Pick'em.
Yeah. I kind of went back to my same angle that I did earlier, where I was kind of looking for horses that maybe hadn't had a ton of jump experience, or maybe were coming out of non-jump races. But Diplodocus to me was interesting because this horse has been running at Delaware in non-jump races, had a good second last time for 16 non-winners at 2. But you go back to one of its early jump performances, and I don't, is jump the right term? Harness racing, they get offended if you don't use the right term for like steeplechasing or jump. So if we're using the wrong terminology, please tell us. We're hoping to learn. But when he broke his maiden, he went to the front and never looked back. And so I thought maybe coming out of some thoroughbred races, maybe he might be a little sharper. Maybe he tries to go to the front and sneak away at what could be a pretty big price.
Yeah, the only other horse that I was going to talk about is Warp Factor, the 11. 20-1 on the morning line. He has not finished in his last 2 races, so you're going to be pretty forgiving on this one. But if you are forgiving, you can look back and see that he had a nice win when he broke his maiden here. He was in contention throughout, so I guess if he can commit to finishing this race, maybe a lifelong shot to look at.
Yeah, well, when you're going to be 20-30-1, you got to be forgiving on stuff. Let's move on to race 4. Oh, your picks for race 3?
Oh, picks for race 3. The entry, Pick'em, the stronger half there. First Friday to the 12, and Warp Factor is a long shot, the 11.
All right, let's get back to the flat races, the thoroughbreds, and race number 4. Small field of 6 going a mile. A talented field, though. There's some good runners in here. You made the outside runner, Romantic Moment, the favorite, Shug, right?
Yeah, on the strength of her connections, right? We saw that on opening night. These same connections had a horse bet
gray
down.
Horse, practical.
With a similar profile,
periodical.
Right? Periodical.
I'm supposed
to.
Yeah. The minute the race is over, the names just get.
Yeah,
thrown
I can
out.
see the horse in my head.
Yeah,
the name Periodical. You're right. Similar profile though. Good. The same connections here. Had been running against much tougher in New York, although hadn't been running particularly well. A Romantic Moment kind of is the same thing. Hasn't hit the board since last year, but figures she'll take a lot of money, considering she's taking kind of a big class drop off that Naira circuit. I'm going to try to beat her in here, though, with the 4 Rosebud's Hope. Stidham had a win on the opening night card, and Rosebud's Hope just dominated in her most recent start. Open 40 claimers at Woodbine, good final time of 1:35, just won easy despite a slow start. So I thought she fit very well in here, even coming from the claiming ranks into this allowance level.
3, 4. I'm trying to think. Okay, 4 of the 6 were on the lead in their last start.
Plenty of speed in here.
And the other 2 have been on the lead on the first call within their last couple of starts. So I'm curious kind of who the speed is. Mo's MVP was on the lead last time, but they went crazy slow at Arlington, 26-4, 52. I'm somebody who I don't like when the speed horses go that slow because you leave the closers very much closer, and a lot of times those horses can outkick you. To me, the best thing a speed guy can do is try to break their hearts on the far turn and start, try to sneak away a little bit, make them have to come get you.
Take the precious passion.
Yeah. Well, maybe not that. I mean, you don't need to open up 12 down the lane, but I just thought maybe Mo's MVP could do something a little bit like that. But I also liked Ode to Joy. Arnaud Delacour this horse is coming off of a pretty lousy effort, but was part of a duel. Again, it's one of those things where the fractions weren't all that hot, but it was contested. And prior to that, it won 2 straight to start the career. And so I'm willing to be forgiving for that one. And I thought Ode to Joy might be a little bit of a price in here.
Yeah, me too. That Ode to Joy is my 3rd pick in here, and I'm going to forgive that last effort. Just too bad to be believed. Yielding turf course, should get a firm turf course tonight. The other horse that I looked was Stifling. I think she is the fastest speed in here.
Okay.
Just because if you look at all of her most recent races, all sprint distances had showed good speed in there, fast early fraction. So if I had to guess one of these 6 to get the early lead, it'd be the 1.
Picks for race 4, Merv.
The 4, 6, and 5.
We start stakes action in today's 5th race, and it's the Tyson Gilpin Stakes for fillies and mares. They're 5.5 furlongs. Again, turf sprints here are going to almost always be on the outer turf course. So I guess, because the jumps are on the outside of the outer turf. That's what it is. So they can still run the inside races, because the jumps, they literally only cover 10 feet on the far outside. Okay. See, I get it now, Merv. But first stakes race of the meet, and Virginia restricted kind of race. We went over that the other day. But again, the rules on that, if you see a Kentucky bred in a Virginia state bred race, it's because they're certified, which means they were here for 6 months at least, continuous, before December 31st, their 2-year-old season. So all that being said, Merv, how'd you see this race?
Now these actually are a bit more restricted, right? These are actually Virginia breds, all these stakes races.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
I found all of these stakes races really interesting, right? Because there's just a kind of a wide scope of horses in here.
It's very restricted, obviously. So you literally are going to get horses. You're going to see numbers and races of claimers, mid-level claimers, who fit in a stakes race.
Yeah, some maidens in here, and I thought the maiden in this race actually stood kind of a long shot chance in here. I landed on the 1 Virginia Fable, appropriately named for this race. Second versus Open Starter Company at Laurel last time out. And that was her first start since November of last year. So I thought she had every right to step up in her second start off the layoff. And if you look at her turf record, 6 starts, 1 win, and 4 second place finishes. It's a shame that in 4 of her last 5 races, they've been taken off the turf.
Well, and what's interesting to me is those are her, literally on the page, those are the 4 worst efforts. The turf efforts are all very, very good. If anything, maybe that helps the price, just because some people might see, it ran good last time, but 3 starts back was pretty bad. And the races weren't even terrible. I mean, from a speed figure standpoint, it was kind of right where she normally is. So, I saw you made the Beep a pretty low price in this one, coming over from Laurel Park, been running in a lot of these similar restricted type races, but has had success in the stakes level before.
Yeah, and I thought the turf races stacked up pretty well if you just pick those out of there. Even a couple wins if you look far enough back. So I thought from a speed figure perspective, she fit right in here.
I'm interested in Solarte, who I just think is going to be a speedy type. I mean, 21-2 last time. And I was trying to see if there was really anyone else in here that has that kind of gas, and I don't think so. So it's going to be a very much different trip than it had last time, where it was kind of head-and-head battling the entire way. And I just thought it had a little bit of price. I liked the Serenigo horse last night that I thought was going to be speed that wasn't. So
I thought maybe the 5 English Heiress might try to go with her, but I don't think she can.
Yeah.
I mean, look, 21 and change that first quarter. She always gets the lead, but man, she can give up too, right?
Yeah.
Well, look at those last 3
but
efforts.
she was battling. I mean, I'd be tired too if I went 21-1. Merv, your picks for race 5?
1, 3, and then 5 in the 3rd spot. English Heiress, that maiden.
The 6th race, I'm excited for this one. 1 3/16 on the outer turf, so kind of one of those good, not marathon, but a challenging, longer distance. One of my long shot plays for the program is in here, but some interesting stuff, including a horse coming off a 17-length victory.
Yeah, I landed on the 2 big agenda. It took him a while to break his maiden, but since he finished first in race 3
which
back,
he's done twice, by the way.
He finished first in a race, was DQ'd, came back to break his maiden in his next start. But if you look at his last 3 starts, pretty consistent. Those are the 3 starts this year. He just seems to be in the best form of his life right now. It'll be interesting to see if he can stretch out to a mile in the 3/16. His last win came at 7.5 furlongs. But that's where I landed in here. Very consistent. 10 of his 11 starts, he's been in the money.
And running against 10, 12, and 10 horse fields in those last 3. To go first time against winners, the optional 50 level at Gulfstream is a pretty strong effort, I thought. I mentioned my price play for the day we give them out of the program. Number 6, Croque Monsieur for Brendan Walsh. I just thought the debut in the country, very solid effort, came rallying, made up some good lengths after kind of losing some lengths on the turn, which I like to see. The horse kind of got back into the bit a little bit. And I'm a big advocate for Ellis Park. I think people think of it as this big drop in class from Churchill Downs, which maybe it is a little bit, but there's
maybe
still...
it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I think people still think of the fair, almost it's like a fair, but there are some salty runners there, and some just good horses. And so I thought Croque Monsieur could be good. I mentioned Deputy Ben coming off a 17-length win at Mountaineer. It was the first time on the grass. Is that maybe this horse? I mean, the speed figure didn't come back very high at all, and maybe just beat up on a bad group.
Well, I mean, how much faster does he need to go?
He went from 87 to 1 in a maiden race at Charlestown to 7 to 5, and finished 5th beaten 11. So it wasn't like he ran great. So clearly the field differential from the Charlestown race to the Mountaineer race was significantly different.
I do like your price play, the 1 in here. And I thought he would benefit from the extra distance as well, just considering his running style, plus second off the layoff.
Also, the 7 best chance yet. I'm assuming I think Deborah Thomas had one in the other night. I can't remember, on Thursday night. I can't fully remember, but a trainer with very, very limited experience on starters, like literally no record. So interesting to see. New barns. Every once in a while you get a new barn that'll just come out blazing.
What did you think about the 4 in here? 1 start, 1 win, did the right thing?
Yeah, very professional and big time connections and Animal Kingdom and Team Valor. As interesting that they're showing up here. And the Clear Lake part was what I liked, just because he kind of had to wait, got between horses, and just really turned it on. And so it could be one of those things where the speed figure came back very solid if you're a speed figure player, but the horse had to wait, and just exploded. And sometimes with turf and even dirt, the speed figures, a lot of them are just based on final time. So if they go very slow early on, even if they explode, they're still trying to make up for the 4 seconds they gave up in the first half mile, going 52 or whatever.
Yeah. 2 bullet works coming into this race as well. So I'd give him a big shot. And I think it'll take money. I think when you win your first start and the next time, I think that you tend to take money.
Well, and when your Team Valor and Arnold Delcor showing up at a smaller track, but I mean the debut was Delaware, right?
It was.
Yeah, and so I would think the circuits are pretty comparable, but big names take money. That's just that's actually one of the beauties of big names, I think, because like Kentucky Derby Trail horses, it's the best thing ever because they run one big race early in February and people will continue to bet them because they know them.
I do.
Yeah, I mean the horses coming out of the Derby throughout the summer are often really good plays against because Pluska Parfait, and then they get beat.
I've got dozens of horses I kept betting for way too long.
You're a Kentucky guy. You have pride. The pick 5, 12% takeout starts in race number 7, and it's one of those fun starter allowances. Horses that have started for 16,000 or less in the last little bit, and a field of 9 here, Merv.
Yeah, lots of speed in here. There's a bunch of horses that are going to try to go to the front. So I tried to look for one that might benefit from if there's a pace meltdown in here, and I landed on the 6, Shifra Magician.
Oh man.
Not sure on how to say the name, but
I'd go
last 3 starts very solid, including a win at this $10,000 starter level, 2 back at Delaware. So I think fits at this level, and if the pace scenario kind of shapes up the way it looks on paper, like it's gonna, I give the 6 a big shot, and I think she might offer some value as well.
I saw you included the 7, Shrove Tuesday, on just a disastrous trip last time. You can see it was pretty close up, and then kind of got the shuffle, and basically just went back through the field, and I don't want to say ran back on, but didn't lose any ground to the leaders throughout the home stretch after having that trouble near the 3/8 pole. And so to me, and then you look at the 3 previous starts, and they were all very good, and was actually 2 to 1 or 5 to 2 at this same level, really, starter 16. So I thought that horse was an interesting price. I also thought, as a potential bomber, is Tito, who's coming in at a $4,000 non-winners. I mean, is way up in class today, but coming in off 2 straight wins, first time for a barn who is positive ROI in a lot of angles, a very lightly run barn, Larry Reed, but has been very good with shippers, has been very good first time with the trainer, and I just thought if this thing continues to, I always love a hot horse going up in class, because sometimes they're just better, and they were running against horses that they were far superior to.
I think last night's 10th race bomber was named Tito something.
Tito
something
tonight.
Tito, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe ride the wave there. I also liked the 2
The
Unbridled
2's a
Escape,
class,
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think she's going to be the favorite because she's been running against just much tougher.
Yeah.
But she gets the lead. There's a lot of speed in here.
Yeah.
I just don't know if she's going to be tiring out. I think she's going to take a lot of money, so that's why I tried to beat her.
I'm interested to see what the 9 can do. Awfully Silky. Jevin Crumley is a trainer who I knew from up in Ohio, and he was kind of someone who showed up at River Downs for a period of time, and his horses were pretty live then. That was 10 years ago, but I literally just highlighted his name because I was like, I wonder if he's still got a little bit of that ability. So, at race 8, we return to stakes racing action. 5.5 furlongs on the outer turf course. It's the Meadow Stable Stakes, and we start getting into some bigger fields here. Merv, a field of 10 at 5.5 furlongs.
I thought there was a very clear favorite in here. I think probably the heaviest favorite on the card. The 8, Elusive Mischief. There's just no way around it. Has been running against much better company than anybody else in this field. Even though he, didn't seem to run well in his last 2 starts, those were just much better races.
Yeah, the ones
much
runs 3 and 4 back are very, very good efforts.
Yeah. Gets back to the turf. 2 back on the turf, was 7th, beaten less than 6 lengths in the Mighty Bow Stakes at Churchill Downs. Kind of had rough trips in both of his last 2 races.
Yeah.
I just think that he is just much the best in here. Ian Wilkes shipping this one in. I think it's going to be really tough to beat him, and probably tough to bet this race because of it.
Who else did you have in your top 3?
I looked to the outside, the 10, Ready to Run. I thought this was the best speed in here.
Yeah.
And for a turf sprint stakes, I couldn't find a ton of speed in here. So I thought,
I love outside speed horses in turf sprints because they
think
usually
he's gonna
find
clear
themselves in
them.
good positions. Yeah, that horse. He was claimed for 25. Kieran McGee jumped it up to 40. It went off favored and really rolled. But Kieran is a very strong barn. Hits at very good percentages. And Karamanos, we talked about, has had great success here over the many years and got a win on opening night. But I agree with you. I'm real interested to see what Ready to Run can do.
Yeah, my picks in here were the 8, 10, and then I threw the 6 in there for third fly.
I had him on my highlight list. The 9th race would begin the late pick 3, and here it's the Nellie Mae Cox Stakes, $100,000 at a flat mile, another field of 10. They've been loading these this late pick 5. It was intimidating opening night, and I think it's a little less so tonight. Tonight we're speaking on Friday, so Friday's card, which most people, when they watch this, will have already happened. So maybe I shouldn't have said that. But regardless, I think these are tough sequences. But if you hit, it's a ton of dough. So Merv, race number 9, how did you see this?
Yeah, I was actually knocked out in the first leg last night. So try again today. I landed on the 9, and you might have to help me with this name.
Fionbar.
Ran an open stakes company last time out, came from last, beaten less than 6 lengths. I think that was a very credible race. She stretches out to a distance of ground for the first time here. I looked at the pedigree and saw exchange rate out of a Royal Academy mare, thinking that doesn't scream distance, but it also doesn't say that she won't stretch out either. I put her at 7-2 on the morning line, thinking I don't think she's going to go off I don't know if she's going to go off favorite or not. It was a pretty evenly matched race.
Yeah, that barn has been pretty solid numbers-wise, but not in stakes races. 0 for 43. So looking to break through, but they've been winning other races, so it's not it's certainly not a matter of not being able to train. The 7-horse Drop Dead Red I highlighted just because the Obey Stakes is usually a pretty tough race, and wasn't embarrassed in that one. They tried the grass last time though, and it didn't work out too well. And so the horse has run on grass 5 times with just 1 second, and so wasn't in love with that one. And then where does my price horse go? Sweet Sandy, the number 2, just a little bit of a back class kind of play. It was running in races like the Glen Falls, the Forever Together at Aqueduct, not running well, but not being completely embarrassed. Beaten 7 lengths, and like I said, those races are just so deep compared to what she's going to be running against tonight that I thought maybe if you get a big price on that one, it could be forgiving. Be forgiving. And Michael Gorham took over last start.
I did like the 6 Try and Summer a little bit as well. Good race last time out, open 40 claimers at Churchill Downs. Even the race 2 back, a starter allowance on the turf, didn't run absolutely terrible. If you look back to the fairgrounds races earlier this winter, the turf races, I thought she showed good speed and ran really credibly at a good level. So I was going to give her a shot in here.
The 10th race, the Edward Evans and River Deep, you made the 9-5 favorite, a field of 9 here in this one. You made the horse a 9-5 favorite coming off a 58 length defeat. Why, Murph?
Well, the theme of this has been I'm very forgiving tonight, right? I'm forgiving a lot,
Yeah.
so we'll see how that strategy works out for me on
But
Saturday.
hasn't been running on the turf, this horse, for a little while. But if you go back to when it was running on the turf, it was very good.
That was the key, is looking back there. And if you look back, kind of before that last ever, even the most recent races, the 5th and the 6th, they weren't that bad. I did look back to that turf stakes at Laurel. Thought it was a very good effort. And against this field, I thought that this horse just kind of looked the best on paper.
Yeah, a lot of horses making, you talked about the restricted stakes. A lot of horses making big jumps here. Katie's Catbird coming up from 5,000 at Monmouth. And I remember that race. The horse ran pretty good, actually, for a 5,000 race. But, Black Prong was in a 75 non-winner at 2 last time. So I kind of utilized class in this race as a little bit of a separator. I thought, I'm a big back class guy, because I think every once in a while you get big prices on horses who have some ability. They maybe just needed a freshener or needed a change of scenery or whatever. But Determined Vision won one of these restricted stakes back in June at Laurel and went wire to wire going 5.5. So stretching out, this horse has been almost exclusively sprinting. Stretching out, I thought, if you go down to the bottom of the page, when this horse was making the lead, was running some pretty good races, but hasn't in quite a while. And so I think the stretch out maybe is them trying to do that. I've talked with some trainers, and they've talked about how sometimes for their sprinters, it's just easier on them to stretch them out. It's easier on their legs. It's not as taxing as a sprint is, and so even though it's a longer distance, I thought maybe as a price option that was a decent one.
That's a good angle.
We finally get to Orbert. Now you picked, race 10, your picks.
Oh, race 10 picks. 6, 3, 8.
Okay, race 11. Merv's first pick of the meet. He was so excited for Orbert, and he couldn't pick him because he scratched for this race. Now that, I think, was a 16,000 non-2. This is a 10,000 non-2, so you have to pick Orbert again.
Yeah, on top. Yeah. Well, I liked him at 8-1 on opening night. I think he'll probably be the favorite in this race.
Yeah.
He just looks a lot stronger because he just won at the 12.5 level versus a big field of 12 in there at Arlington. So I think he just definitely fits in here. Michael Stidham got a win on the opening night card, so I'm gonna try again with Orbert. Pick him on top. I did like the one in here as well. The Fledermaus.
I don't know. We'll find out. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out what Pete Aiello said 2 starts back.
Yeah, he was third at the $10,000 level at Tampa last time out. I do tend to think those Tampa shippers in here are gonna have the benefit. Those races always come up tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fledermaus 0 for 14 on the turf, 4 seconds, 4 thirds. So it's been in the hunt, but doesn't like to necessarily get there first. My kind of long shot, interesting horse in here was the 3 to be or not to be, who's 12 to 1 on the line. Broke the maiden 2 starts back and was able to run okay against winners first time. Split the field at a field of 9, made up a little bit of ground, and I just thought it wasn't the worst effort. And now is, whether it's 16 at Laurel to 10 here is that big of a class drop, I think we'll find out. I mean, a lot of what we're doing here is learning together.
Yeah.
We saw a crazy upset in the finale yesterday. You got any price ones? Did
you learn anything from that? Last race?
No. I learned that it's easier for me to call them when one of them kicks away at the top of the stretch as opposed to being clustered, because the nighttime stuff is not easy. But I don't know that I learned anything. I learned that just something crazy happened.
Yeah. The other horse I liked in here in this last race was the far outside Whistle player. Second start off the layoff. I thought was a credible 4th at the 12.5 level at Delaware.
Kind of a similar angle to the one I just talked about, where they won, and then the first time against winners ran okay.
Yeah. Second start off the layoff, I think we should move up. So picks in here were the 2, 1, and 11.
All right, well, that's the pre-race preview, but way ahead of the pre-race because we're posting them hours and hours in advance. Again, really appreciate everybody's feedback about this, and appreciate everybody checking out. Appreciate everybody checking out Colonial Downs. Again, you can find us on Twitter at Colonial Rosies for the track. He's at Murph Huber. I'm at Beem Awards, and we'll see you guys next week. We get a couple days off, buddy.
Good luck.
All right.